Courtesy of Donald Trump, Canada just punched America in the wang, and the economy is smarting.
Florida? But that's America's wang.
Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. Donald Trump has called April 2nd Liberation Day. The reason? His 25% tariffs on goods imported from Canada and Mexico go into effect that day. Or at least, that's the plan. These tariffs were originally set to go into effect February 4th. When economists predicted they would cause financial panic and the markets started to melt down, Trump pushed them to March 4th. Then, the same thing happened. To prevent a total economic disaster, Trump, in his infinite wisdom, pushed the tariffs to April 2nd rather than just canceling them altogether, which would have been the logical thing to do at this point to prevent an all-out trade war. Both nations have promised to establish their own retaliatory tariffs, not to mention actually cut off supply of certain goods to the United States altogether. Check out what Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, that's like a governor in Canada in case you don't know, check out his dire warning to the United States.
If they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face. And I'm encouraging every other province to do the same. Quebec, Manitoba, BC, we all have to act in unison. Out east, they rely on our energy. They need to feel the pain. They want to come at us hard, we're going to come back twice as hard.
For the record, Ontario supplies the American power grid with a considerable amount of energy, ranging in area from the East Coast to as far west as Texas and as far south as the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of Mexico. Ford has threatened to cut off the power completely, which will further strain an already maxed out U.S. power grid. Apart from the possibility of rolling blackouts, energy costs in those states will skyrocket. And yet, Trump presses on, still not even understanding how tariffs work, or worse, he just doesn't care. And economists are spooked. Earlier today, NBC financial analyst Jim Cramer had a total meltdown on camera. Check it out.
BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, who writes an annual chairman's letter required reading for anyone in the markets, wrote some fateful words today, quote, "I hear it from nearly every client, nearly every leader, nearly every person I talk to. They're more anxious about the economy than any time in recent memory," end quote. I come back and say, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. But let's think about what that really means for you and me. We have declining inflation, except the president's putting on inflationary tariffs. We have incredibly low unemployment, except where it's caused by the Trump administration. We have a market that was doing extremely well last year until the Trump administration sowed a level of uncertainty that I can't recall any time since, are you ready, ski daddy, Jimmy Carter, which is the last time people were really worried about inflation, about stagflation, okay? Back then, stagflation was real. Now, Jimmy Carter, curious benchmark. Break out the cardigan sweater. I know it's a brutal comparison. You think I did it idly? I cannot think of another president in my lifetime who could knock down the stock market simply by opening his mouth than Jimmy Carter. Eureka! I have found him. So let's look at it this way. Everything about this economy is good. Everything, except one thing. We have a president who's very angry at everyone except Vladimir Putin. Oh, no, maybe even Vladimir Putin. And his wrath has made investors so downcast and so negative that people have just given up. They want nothing to do with stocks, nothing to do with this world, because they're sure the White House will keep laying on the tariffs that seem to be wiping out your wealth and my wealth. In this environment, it's a wonder anyone's buying anything.
And, true to form, it's all about to get so much worse. This time, hitting Trump where it really hurts. Don't believe me? Check this out. The Miami Herald now reports that Canadian tourism, a cornerstone of the Florida economy, is on the brink of collapse thanks to Trump's trade war. Many Canadians, like people from the East Coast and Midwest in the United States, flock to Florida as part of the phenomenon known as snowbirds. Retired people spend all or part of the year in Florida thanks to the warmer weather. Thanks to Trump's trade war, however, there has been a 5% decline in airline bookings from Canadian cities to the Sunshine State in the past 2 months. That may not seem like much, but keep in mind, Canadians often gravitate towards certain communities to be around other Canadians or other retirees. On that scale, the damage is already much larger. Flights to Miami from Canada have dropped by 17%. Flights to Fort Lauderdale have dropped by 25%. So this means less money in rental properties, less money in restaurants, or other areas of the living economy. And worse, the Herald also reports that even among the Canadians that still plan to travel to Florida, or among those already living there, Friends and family from Canada who usually visit are boycotting the state. They find spending money in the United States unconscionable given Trump's tariffs. Again, that might not seem like a major loss. But when you consider that Florida is the #1 tourist spot for Canadians in the United States, between 3 and 4 million tourists visit each year from Canada alone, that's a bad sign. And travel experts predict it will get worse. Many Canadians had already booked travel before Trump took office in January of this year. Despite the tariffs, they opted to visit because they'd already booked their trips. Economists and travel agents, according to the Herald, predict that even fewer tourists will travel next year. So much for those golf dates at Mar-a-Lago, eh, Donald? Somebody tell Trump that he stands to be personally hurt by his own tariffs, and maybe that will knock some sense into the man. If not, brace yourselves for a Canadian shot to the American crotch. And this one's really going to hurt. I'm David Reddish.